show you is
mostrar
not exactly
não é
what is written
exatamente
in
o
the
que está
program,
escrito no programa,
because what
porque
is written in
o que
the
está
program
escrito no
is
programa
extremely
é
technical.
extremamente técnico.
And
O
what
que
I
eu
wanted
quero
to show you
mostrar-lhes
through my
na
presentation
nossa apresentação
is how
é
the
como as
different
diferentes
dots, how we call that,
pontos
come
se
together
juntam
so that we
para
can
que a gente
together
possa juntos
reflect later on how to go
refletir
forward.
como avançar.
Before doing
Antes
so,
de fazer isso,
I would like to
eu
thank
queria agradecer
those who
aqueles que
invited
me
me,
convidaram,
not
não
for a question of
Não
politeness,
por ser
because
agradecido, mas
it's my
são
friends of the
meus
UNESCO office in
amigos
Brasilia and
da
the
Unesco aqui no Brasil,
project officer
o
here in São Paulo,
diretor
but
do
it is
projeto aqui no
the
São Paulo.
the
Mas
fact
o
that they
fato
brought
é que,
together
como eles fizeram isso,
two important
eles
players,
trazeram
the municipality of São Paulo, and
a municipalidade de São
thank Mr.
Paulo.
Rossi who already
Eu
left,
acho que o diretor
and
já saiu,
all the
mas,
team
e todo o
of
time
the Secretaria
Secretaria
Municipal,
Municipal,
whom I was meeting now
que eu
for
já
2 days.
conheço faz 48 horas,
It's really enchanting.
realmente foi uma
And I would
experiência
like to
encantadora
thank
e eu
you
gostaria
to have offered
de
us the
agradecer
possibility to
pela
work
possibilidade
in
de
this
trabalhar
magnificent
nesse magnífico,
Olympic facilities
nessa magnífica
and also go and visit these facilities.
instalação
So I want to
olímpica.
congratulate
Eu
you for
gostaria
that.
de
And yesterday we were
congratulá-los
running
por
around the
isso.
Football
E
Museum
ontem eu
and
fui
got,
no
of course,
Museu do Futebol, que foi
beautiful. And I
extremamente
also wanted to
bonito.
thank the
E
Ayrton
eu
Senna
gostaria de
Institute.
agradecer ao
And
Instituto Ayrton
it was
Senna,
very moving
que é
when I
muito
saw Viviana
comovente
Senna
ver
talk at the
falar
very opening.
quando a
What this
Viviana Senna
institute is
falou
doing
muito abertamente sobre o que eles
is
estão fazendo.
extremely
E o que eles estão
important for
fazendo é
this
muito importante
country,
para o país.
but it stands out
E
as
se destaca
an example
exemplo
for how
de
civil
como a sociedade
society
civil
can
pode
match politicians to
pode
improve society.
se igualar aos
And what I
políticos
will
para
tell you
melhorar a
about
sociedade.
in my
O que eu vou
presentation
contar na
is
minha
exactly
apresentação é
how
como
sport
esporte
and
e
sportsmen
os
and
atletas
athletes can
podem
change
mudar a
society
sociedade
and how
e como a Unesco
is in fact
também está
doing
fazendo
this. Now,
isto.
I am just seeing which button I have to
Ok,
put.
qual que é o botão? Ah.
What
O
I
que eu
will
vou
show you
mostrar
is
é
a little bit the
um pouco do
international setting
contexto
from the
internacional,
United
as
Nations,
Nações Unidas,
UNESCO,
Unesco,
and I also
e eu
will
também
talk
vou
with
falar
you
um
shortly
pouquinho
about the
sobre
mission of
a
the International
missão
Olympic
do
Committee
Comitê Olímpico
that is often
Internacional, que
forgotten.
também às vezes é esquecido.
I will tell you a
Vou
little
falar
bit
um pouco
about
sobre o
our
programa da
program.
Unesco.
I
Eu
will
vou
give
dar
you a few
exemplos, alguns 3
examples
exemplos de
of projects
projetos
that we are
que
supporting and with
damos
which we
suporte,
cooperate.
incorporamos.
And
E
I
eu
will
vou
discuss
discutir
further with you
algumas
some common issues
questões
that
comuns
come
que
up
surgem
in these and
nestes
that come up
e
in
que
fact
surgiram
whenever
quando
we
sempre
are
que
talking
estamos
about
falando de
improving
melhorar
physical education,
a educação
just
física,
like Professor
como o professor Hartmann
has presented
apresentou
it very
muito
brilliantly with the
brilhantemente
survey.
recentemente.
Now, what is
Então,
it
o que,
that
que
makes
faz
it
que
that
todo
everybody
mundo
is
é
enthusiastic
entusiástico
about sport?
sobre o esporte?
And as
Como
Professor
o professor Hartmann
told,
disse,
everybody
todo
underwrites
mundo
it. Everybody
diz
says we need
que
a
nós
law
precisamos
to
uma
do it.
lei para fazer isso.
Everybody
Todo
thinks
mundo
it's
acha
great.
fantástico.
And even at the
E
level
mesmo
of the
no
United
nível das
Nations,
Nações Unidas,
they have
eles
established
um programa chamado
for
Esporte
Development
para
and Peace.
desenvolvimento e
And there is
paz.
even working
E
a
tem
special
até
advisor to the Secretary General of the United Nations in
uma
New
pessoa
York.
encarregada em Nova York
Bringing
que está
forward this agenda.
trazendo, que está fazendo esta
And the
agenda.
resolution that
E a
is quoted
resolução
here
que estamos
has
falando
been
aqui foi
approved
aprovada
in 2010 by the
em
General
2010
Assembly of the United Nations,
pelo
where they
Comitê Geral da ONU.
think of
E
building a
estamos
peaceful
querendo
and better
construir
world through
mundo
sport
mais
and the
pacífico e melhor
Olympic ideal.
através do esporte e do
And
ideal
they
olímpico. E
say
eles
that
dizem que o
sport is a
esporte
tool for
é uma
education
ferramenta
that
para a
can
educação que pode
promote
promover
cooperation,
cooperação,
solidarity, social
solidariedade,
inclusion and
inclusão
health.
social e
Why I
saúde.
do project you these
Através
words?
dessas palavras,
Because these are all
vocês
these
podem ver os
benefits that we
benefícios,
think we can
que
draw
coisas
from
que podemos
sport
tirar do esporte.
and which we are gathered
E
today
hoje estamos juntos.
and which besides
E
the
além
cognitive and
do
physical fitness of
fitness,
the kids,
dos
we would like
pontos
to grasp
cognitivos,
and be able to evaluate.
precisamos evaluar tudo,
So even at the
avaliar
level
tudo.
of the United Nations,
Então temos,
this is of course
no contexto
the concern.
do contexto das Nações Unidas, esse é o
Now,
nosso
in
propósito.
UNESCO,
Na Unesco,
since
desde
1978,
1978,
we have a charter
temos um
on
capítulo
physical education and
sobre
sport.
educação física e esporte.
Unfortunately,
Infelizmente,
this
isso
is
aqui é
very
muito
long,
longo,
it's very elaborate,
muito elaborado,
but many
mas
of you
muitos de
who have
vocês
been studying
que já
physical
estudam
education and
educação física e
do
esporte
probably
já
have
têm
somehow
alguma,
come across
já
these
viram
texts.
esses passos.
This is
Estes são o
consensual
consenso,
text
o texto
of member
consenso
states
dos
of
Estados-membros da
in a
Unesco
general
numa
conference.
conferência geral.
So in
Então, em
1978,
78,
they set certain
eles estabeleceram certos
standards
padrões
about what
sobre o que
education,
a educação,
what physical education bring
educação
about.
física traz.
And they
E
also
eles
say
também
it
disseram
should enrich the social
que
fabric,
a fábrica
its
social
wealth, it's good
está
about everything. It's good for everything.
tudo,
It's
faz
good for
bem a
everything
tudo para a
practically.
sociedade, o esporte.
And so even
Então,
in
mesmo em
1978,
78, as
people
pessoas
thought of that.
pensavam nisso.
And
E
they,
eles,
but there is a
tem
certain,
certo
there are certain elements that
elemento
should be
que devem
interesting.
ser
The
interessantes.
issue about physical education, that there is not, it should not be
da educação
one size
física,
fits all.
que não
It
deve
has to
ser
suit
só
the
tamanho
requirements
serve
and
para
personal
todos, tem que ser,
characteristics of those
para os
practicing them.
requerimentos e características
And,
as características
And
individuais
also he
dos
talks
indivíduos que
about
que
giving
praticam
a
qualquer
specific
esporte.
place to the
E também
disadvantaged
fala
groups of society.
especificamente do lugar
And,
de grupos que não têm desavantajados, digamos. que não
There is
têm
in the
todos
second
os
paragraph the reference to
E esta
great
está no segundo
behavioral
parágrafo,
patterns
a referência
conducive
a
to development of the human person. So all these are things that the
que
politicians also
conduzem
in
ao
1978,
desenvolvimento
the
total
representatives of
de
member
ser
states,
humano.
underwrote.
Em 78,
So
os
the
representantes
rhetoric
dos
is
Estados
certainly
membros
there.
concordaram.
This
com a
charter
retórica,
is
e a
being
retórica está aí.
used in order to guide
este capítulo
physical
foi
education
usado
policies
para
in
guiar
member
a
states.
educação física, a
I
política de
don't
educação
think
física
that anybody
em,
has to refer
Estados
to it, but
membros. Eu
sometimes
não acho que
people
ninguém
refer to
tem
it
que ver
as
eles,
the,
mas
say,
às vezes as
ground
pessoas se referem a
breaking,
eles
the
para
basic
dizer como
document.
os
I
básicos.
wanted to guide you through
documento
an
básico.
extract of the
Eu
Olympic
quero
Charter,
guiá-los
because what is interesting, what
através
you
do
read in
capítulo
this,
olímpico,
is
porque o que é
that
interessante
the
que
Olympic
você lê
Games
aqui
are not
é
about competition.
que os Jogos Olímpicos
And
não
indeed,
são
it was
sobre
not the
a
ideal
competição,
of
não
Pierre
são
de
baseados
Coubertin
nisso.
to create a
Não era a
competition. It was
ideia
simply the methodology
de criar uma
to
competição.
celebrate
Era
the human,
simplesmente a metodologia
individual,
para celebrar
and
o
collective
indivíduo
through
humano
sport. He could have done this
coletivo
through
através do
music,
esporte.
through dance, through whatever he
E
wanted.
ele se podia
And
ter
in
feito
his
isso daqui através de
philosophy, in
música,
Pierre Coubertin's
dança,
philosophy,
mas
he
na
even talks
filosofia,
about these issues.
do
That
criador
these
das
games
Olimpíadas,
should be a
ele fala
celebration of
sobre
the
essas
cultural
questões,
identity and
que
of the
esses
religious
jogos
and the
têm que ser
ethnic
uma
background of each and
celebração da
everyone.
cultura,
And
do
unfortunately,
background
and you
étnico.
will probably share this with me,
Infelizmente,
and Mr. Ken Hartman has
vocês
pointed
vão
out that
dividir essa ideia comigo.
very
O
much
senhor Ken Hartman
in
também
physical
apontou isso daí.
education and
Muitas
sports
vezes,
policies
na educação
is geared
física,
towards the
e no esporte,
competitive
das políticas que as
aspect.
guiam, está guiado
And that is
só no
easy.
aspecto
In
competitivo. só na
every minister of
competição.
sport
Isso é fácil.
is supposed to be measured
Qualquer
after
ministro de
2 or
esporte
3 years
deve
on
estar sendo-
the
deve ser
level
medido através
the
depois de 2 ou
local,
3 anos, no
regional,
nível
national volleyball
que
team will have
o
achieved
time local, regional,
the,
o time do país de vôlei,
silver
de
or
vôlei,
bronze
por
medal
exemplo,
the athlete has
atingiu
brought back from the championships or from the Olympics. And
das medalhas que
unfortunately,
eles
especially
trouxeram
in
das
developing
Olimpíadas, dos
countries,
campeonatos mundiais,
most
mas
of the
infelizmente,
public
especialmente nos países em desenvolvimento, a maior parte
public
público,
infrastructure and public investment in
a
physical
infraestrutura
education
do público
sport goes towards
e o
high
investimento na
athletic
educação
achievements,
física
which
está guiado,
is
está direcionado
not bad,
a
but
só
it is,
os resultados, o
it
que
would
não
be
é
good
ruim.
if this would not be
mas
the only thing they do with the money.
Seria
And
melhor
the problem is,
se isso
for
não
us in the
fosse só a
room,
única coisa
to
que
see
guia.
all the other
Mas
elements that
o problema
have
para
to
nós aqui
be
na
in
sala
the
é ver
head
todos os outros elementos
of a
que tem
political
que ser,
decision
estar
maker,
na cabeça
from the political
de
decision maker down to the headmaster
político,
of the school, like
que
Professor
decide
Hartman told
até
us. It is the headmaster of the
chefe,
school
até
who
o
finally
diretor de escola,
is the one who
é o diretor
will
da escola finalmente
limit
que
the time
vê-
allocated to physical education.
que limita
So it is
o
up to
tempo,
us to define
para a educação física, ou seja,
The wording, the slogans,
depende
and
de
the,
nós definir
and the,
os slogans.
how to say, the lobbying, to lobby that for physical education.
como eu
sport.
posso dizer, o lobby
So,
para a educação física
UNESCO's
no
program is
esporte.
then exactly
Então,
in the heart of these preoccupation that we have just mentioned. We do work in standard setting, which is normal as an intergovernmental organization. We work in policy advice, and this is probably the kind of thing that is happening in this room today. We work in capacity building, and we work in bringing together the stakeholders of the physical education and sport world, and there are quite many, in a very strangely defined word called MINEPS. This is a worldwide conference of ministers of physical education and sport that we will organize in May 2013 in Germany. In the standard setting area, we have this UNESCO Charter of 1978, of which I just showed you some extracts, and we also have a role to play in the fight against doping in sport. That might not be interesting to you, but it's a huge field area of work of UNESCO. We have an international convention that was adopted in 2005, and we do work with the sporting movements and the World Anti-Doping Agency on specific action to be taken in these aspects, but we will not talk about this today. On policy advice, one of the major work streams that we are developing in this year, already in fact since last year, this year and next year, is to take the work that has been just presented by Professor Hartmann, the survey, which as a matter of fact is quite worrisome for many of you, to take the survey and to develop with Professor Hartmann and his colleagues in the Northwestern University in the UK indicators that are internationally agreeable on quality physical education, teacher education, and corresponding basic needs models. Now, Professor Hartmann can explain you exactly what that means, but it is simply, what is it I need to measure my performance? And he has just shown you the non-performance, and it is, what would it be if you were going into a specific environment? Where are the basic needs? Where you start with? And it starts with lack of infrastructure, lack of teachers, lack of, and these are then the needs, and that you address, as Mr. Hartmann has just explained this the other day in the workshop that we had, that you address pretty much in the same way everywhere. Simply, each one has a different intervention strategy, but pretty much you have to teach a teacher how to teach is not rocket science, and to create a policy that there are more teachers and better trained is something that is more or less the same. And these are the kind of basic needs that you then build. So this is the global policy making in which we intervene. We then do have another piece of work underway, and this is very interesting also in the context of this project here in Sao Paulo, is to argue before a decision maker the socio-economic benefits of sport and physical education. So what that means. When you are in Brazil and you are host to the FIFA World Championship in Rio de Janeiro 2014, and 2 years later to the Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro again. Oh, the World Cup is in the whole country, sorry. The first element, probably, that those who lobbied to have these mega events in the country were purely economical.